the beat on Asian Paints, but net profit of Bajaj Auto has come in at 1,664 crore rupees, which is slightly lower than what we had actually estimated. And the revenues are also slightly lower than the CNBC-TV18 poll at 10,300 odd crore rupees. EBITDA also slightly lower. So Sonia Shenoy is right here with all the details. So Sonia, it's a miss on all three counts by a slight margin.
Oh, a small miss is what you'd have to call this, right? So all three parameters, revenues, margins, as well as profits, are slightly lower than what the street was estimating. Nothing alarming, but remember, although the domestic business for Bajaj Auto was very strong this time, it was the export realizations which have been under a bit of pressure. Sequentially, exports have improved, but on a year-on-year basis, if you look at it, there's been a 35% year-on-year drop in the export volumes, both for two-wheelers as well as for three-wheelers. And that is where the pressure has seeped in for Bajaj Auto. Now, also, on the margins, in Q4, the margins had hit a 9-quarter high of 19.3%. In that context, they've managed to hold on to margins around these 19% levels, but slightly lower than what the street was estimating. But I think overall, if you look at it, the stock has also rallied substantially. It's sitting at a fresh 52-week high. So there was no scope really for disappointment. And if you pull up a one-year chart, you'll notice that the stock has had a big run-up. There is no scope for disappointment, and hence a little bit of disappointment on the margin front is something that has caused a profit-taking in the stock. Otherwise, from the month of February, if you look at the rally, it's been in excess of about 30% for Bajaj Auto. Otherwise, no problems in these numbers. If you just compare, we have in fact Ashwin Patil of LKP Securities joining in as well. Ashwin, thanks for joining us. If you look at just the numbers on their own, right, I mean, it's a 30% growth that we're seeing on the top line. The margins compared to 16.2% last year have seen a big improvement to 19%, although below what the street was estimating. Your view on how to approach the stock now?
I see these numbers are quite good. I mean, they are not that disappointing as such, the way the stock is reacting. But definitely the stock is, as you said, it's at a high, all-time high. So definitely some sort of correction was expected. See, margins, at 19% are definitely not disappointing at all. Because you can't compare with Q4 because Q4 is a much better quarter as compared to Q1. And still, the margins are coming at about 19%. So definitely it's not a disappointment from my view, but the exports, we are seeing deceleration this quarter on a YY basis, but you see the month-on-month improvement that the exports are posting. That is really very good. So going forward, I think that the exports have already bottomed out, and we'll be seeing a good sequential, quarterly sequential as well as monthly growth in exports going forward as well. So at point of somewhere in fourth quarter or somewhere, or next year we'll be seeing a good next year first quarter or fourth quarter of this year we'll be seeing a good YOY growth as well on exports, because definitely we are seeing a good month-on-month growth. So definitely it's not a disappointing set of numbers from my point of view.
Oh, absolutely. And, just a couple of more details from the press release. The balance sheet is also looking very healthy for Bajaj Auto. They've added 2,000 crores of free cash flow during this quarter, so that's an added positive. Apart from that, the Chetak EV expansion is going in on a steady wicket currently. They've talked about how the volumes have gone up 2 times quarter on quarter. So volumes have doubled quarter on quarter. And now they've expanded their network for the Chetak EV to 90 cities. Apart from that, they also speak about how this is the highest quarterly EBITDA of 1,954 crores, which is a growth of 51% year on year and 14% quarter on quarter. So as I said, good numbers, strong earnings, but slightly lower than what the street was estimating. So maybe that's the reason for a little bit of profit taking on the stock. Himanshu Singh of Prabhudas Lilladher is also with us. Himanshu, the big trigger for Bajaj, of course, one is what's happening with the premium end of the segment, right? They do talk about the launches in that segment, both the Speed and the Scrambler 400cc, and how it's doing very well. But the other is the sequential recovery that we've seen in the export market. What are your thoughts on this quarter's numbers, and would you change your EPS or earnings estimates post these earnings?
Yeah, hi. So, numbers were slightly below what was expected by the street in terms of margins. However, revenue was largely in line. So, a little disappointing on that front, on the street, on the margin front. But this is largely led by inferior mix in the sales. So we saw the three-wheeler volumes were largely down sequentially, while the domestic two-wheeler and other two-wheelers were up. So that has led to the decline in margins first. On the overall results, I would say there could be slight cut, but nothing substantial on this results.
Okay.
Overall, on the premium segment, I think they are doing good. They are a very good competition for Royal Enfield and should get revenues from both domestic and export market. So overall positive on the premium segment for them.
Okay, I have a two-part question, Himanshu, before I let you go. One is on the margins. Is there scope for a further up move in the quarters to come? A, because of the price hikes that they've undertaken as well as the lower raw material costs. And B, on the stock price particularly, what's your view?
Yeah, so there would be margin improvements, but as exports recover, we could see some pressure because the countries to which Bajaj was exporting and which have fallen the most is Nigeria and the African countries, where the mix is quite inferior, and we could see some pressure on the ASP as in when the exports recover. So that is on the exports. In terms of prices, I am a bit cautious, given the valuations at which Bajaj is trading, and so I have a reduced rating on the stock.
Oh, you have a reduced rating on the stock and you're only cautious about the valuations. Otherwise, you feel the earnings are quite strong. Got that. Thanks, Himanshu, for joining in. Ashwin, final question to you. The stock has actually rallied 30% in the last 6 months. Would that make you cautious at these levels, or do you think there is enough in these earnings for the stock to move higher from here?
See, the recovery in exports, is definitely a good kicker for the company going forward. So, a slight upside can be seen from these levels, I guess so, because of, the export improvement and the Chetak, as you said, that is also spreading its wings despite a quarter of when, FAME 2 subsidy was implemented. Still the two-wheeler, the Chetak has been performing well. And also, I think that the three-wheeler performance also is expected to go up from here. So I think overall, and also the two bikes that the company has launched in the 400cc, the overall, I think that it gives us a strong, mix going forward as well. So I think there is some steam left in the stock.
Okay, there is some steam left in the stock despite the 30% rally we've seen in the last 6 months. Thanks a lot to Ashwin and Himanshu for joining in. Let's just summarize the numbers by saying that they are strong numbers, no two ways about that. Over a 30% growth in the revenues, EBITDA at an all-time high for Bajaj Auto, 19% margins, which is over a 300 basis points improvement compared to what we've seen last year. But the stock is seeing some profit taking because the numbers are slightly lower than what the street was estimating. But the management commentary is also quite strong, and they are talking about improvements both in the premium segment with the 2 new launches as well as the Chetak EV, where the distribution is well on track and a steady progress over there. Back to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Sonia, for that summing up the numbers of Bajaj Auto. But I would like to take a look